Oh,
So
okay.
sorry, I forgot, but go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Oh yeah, then I press okay. So yeah, so I was just saying how I started 33 years ago, and because of course it's, I mean, we don't want to wait. I was in my 20s, so it was probably the perfect timing for me to start waking up. But I wasn't feeling well. I had, anxiety, bad migraines, and digestive issues. And this beautiful woman that I used to see holistic treatment for massages and energy work she did, she had said to me, why don't you go and try this yoga class down the street? And I was doing lots of athletic exercise. I've always tried to take care of myself, but like you said, that emotional, physical component, combining the two of them, I wasn't connected with that yet. And so I went to my first yoga class, and only until the end of the class. So, like, of course, everything's new when you have never tried yoga before. It's an unusual experience. You're moving your body in different ways. So, you're just physically noticing that. And at the end, the teacher said, place your hand on your heart and said, say out loud, I love myself. And I had never given myself permission. I don't know if I even said that to myself inside my head and say it out loud. I just, like, tears started streaming down. And I felt deeply the connection of there was like this in my soul, uh, coming into that spiritual practice, because from a very young age, I felt very connected to spiritual practices and the divine, and, something more than us. Um, and I realized what was so beautiful about yoga is it is a lifestyle, not a religion. My spirituality is just more that I combine it with because it allows like a larger view, something that's more than bigger than us. And then at the same time, bigger than us, and then we all come together. Like it's such a incredible feeling. So from there, going right into practice, loving yoga, taking more and more of it up, and then doing all my trainings, doing different trainings to to just keep on learning, and then teaching, and then I haven't stopped since then. And we lost you. Did I lose you, Susan? I hope not. Yeah. So yeah. So I that is the background of my practice, and with that, mm, we have like seasons in our life, and I believe that every experience that I've had, I've been able to teach from that. And so basically, I'm at a stage in my life. Oh, there you are. I thought I lost you. So the way I teach is it's there's different modalities that I teach, and it keeps on evolving. I was trained in hatha, and then learned a lot more vinyasa, which is that flowing movement. Hatha yoga is really the alignment, more in like structured holding poses. You hold it, and I would say the stages that we go through in yoga, what I hope as that I get to share with people when I'm teaching, is you start to learn to connect with yourself, because there's many of us that get disconnected from ourselves. And yoga gives you the tools. And at first, it's quite sneaky, actually, because a lot of people go into yoga saying, the physical aspect, and it's great. Physical aspect is fantastic. You move your body, then when you move the body, you move your energy, and you start to open up. Like you literally, like stretching just means you're opening up your body.
Yeah,
And
and just to say on that point that, like, you were talking about hatha and how you hold the pose. For me, when I started with Ashtanga because it was like, I'm going to power through my yoga, like I really, really felt like I was like, I need to make this another exercise in my life. But then I realized that hatha and holding a pose, or yin and really releasing into a pose,
Yeah.
are actually better for me, because like it it gives me more of a moment of reflection, and it's like more mindful almost for me now that I've had so many years of yoga in my life. It's like each one is so powerful but different.
Yes, and I think it depends too. Like there's sometimes there's certain stages in our life we need different experiences or what we're going through and what and to be flexible in the sense of um, this doesn't work for me. I'm going to try this different type of practice. And I wanted to say, I said, I don't want anyone to think that hatha is holding in the sense. The breath work is so number one to me is the most important thing for me. From day one, I knew that if I could connect to how I'm breathing, so that's usually like what happens when you come to one of my classes, is that I will help you settle, center, start to notice in a non-judgmental way, observe yourself, accept yourself as you are, and connect, noticing your breathing. I always say notice, don't try to control it. Because when we come from a place of where we're at, that there's almost a moment of I can accept me as I am and love that moment right now. So that centering to me at the beginning is just really really important, and it all comes into the breath. And like if people have a short breath, have trouble breathing, we kind of go through it. And what hatha does, and yin yoga is deeper, so I'm going to touch about yin yoga soon. But what hatha does is that, the experience once you get enough into a practice is once you connect to your breathing and then you start moving your body. It's like a gentle wave, a gentle wind, and you use your breathing in that. So when you can finally combine the two, the physical and the mental and even the spiritual experience, you go into a meditative state. And there's this breathing we call ujjayi breath. And that ujjayi breath is like this deep, it feels like a throaty breath. And basically what it is you're inhaling through the nose. You feel it seep through the back of the throat. It has a deep, rich feeling, like, and the sound sounds like the waves. And what it does is slows the breath down as best as you can, and you can guide the breath deeper and deeper into the body. When you connect to that, you are able to express, you start to learn how to use your body in different ways. You get to learn more about yourself. And as um, the other speakers said before, you intuitively start to hear your body. It starts to, our body speaks to us no matter what. Like, so no matter what, if anything is bothering us physically, emotionally, it's going to tell us. Well, it's better, what I've learned, what's helped me through the years and what I try to teach on is that why don't we practice mindfulness in the moment and tune in right away, like get right into it and let ourselves open up to it. And that brought me closer to teaching yin yoga, because yin yoga is, you think that staying in stillness in a certain pose is, could be really challenging. You have to trust and feel comfortable with the teacher, first of all, because the guidance of the teacher and the language we use is very important. So basically, it's kind of like a guided meditation and allowing yourself to really explore your resistance, and then you slowly open up. And I always, as myself as offering a course or a teaching, or the teacher or the students, we all feel better when we finish our practice. I always say, don't worry how you feel now, you will feel much better at the end.
So true. So true. I mean, I love all kinds of different yogas, you know, they all serve their purpose. But I'm learning to love yin so much right now because really it is a mind, like mental challenges. I find when you're sitting in a pose for so long, you're thinking like, I just want to move out of this pose. But you're like, how can I breathe through this? How can I sit with this? And it's like a training almost for us to learn how to sit with something and accept that, you know, and then you're like, okay, I think I can soften a little bit more. I think I can bring a little bit more breath to this. And so for me, I find it's such a fascinating form of yoga to such a good meditative to learn on more levels than just in the physical body, you know.
Yes, yes. And I love the idea of the theme that you had from burnout to brilliance because uh, what it had start. I can't remember when I started this. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I made up my mind that when fall was coming around, you know how we have like spring and then we start all like, oh, I'm going to do this kind of exercise or this kind of wellness. Well, I brought that mentality that in the fall. And what that did was I use the fall energy. I respect nature as it is. So it is a little bit, we go into more a dormant stage. However, the way that I practice and the way that I teach is really about nurturing the body, nourishing it through the different stages of the seasons. And I understand that people struggle so much. You were mentioning that about how, when it gets darker and I hear that a lot. And take advantage, just as Bianca was saying, like, take advantage of sunlight. And I'm grateful enough that my room is facing the sun in the morning. I'm grateful that I have a dog that I can go outside and just get light. So forget about, not there's like these little mini things that we can do that lift us up and nourish us. Take advantage of that time. And then take advantage of the downtime when it does start to get a little darker, and if even there's a reason why I love this. There's a reason why nature says we're in the darker times because you need to rest.
Yeah.
You know, you, we think that we can do what we want to do, but nature tells us, well, I have to tell you that that's just not the way it works because we need to rest. We need to replan, rejuvenate ourselves, and then plant those seeds and then open up in a different way. And so it's a great time uh, in the practices. So in yoga, what we'll do is, um, I know you were asking me like talking about what kind of poses we do and stuff. And there's different ways to apply them. So I always, no matter what, move the body first. So even though we will go in more into soothing poses, so for forward bends are really good. The sun salutation is a great way to move the body initially, or the spinal energy warm up, which I would have to show like another demonstration on a video. Some people, if they don't know what sun salutation is that basically it's this mobility to start grounding down from a standing position, rising up. So the everything is symbolic. And if we take advantage of the symbols that we are receiving in yoga, and there you go, we slow down, take meaning from it. So opening up to the sun, thank you so much. There's gratitude in that, right? Now I want to bring it into myself. I breathe out, I forward bend. And I just humbly forward bend. Then I inhale to lift up my heart again, and I step into power. I step into my power. So we go into a plank. And then from the plank, I start to bow down again. It's like an offering. So it's like this incredible ritual that we do. So we go down, and when we go into cobra, which is on your belly, opening up that chest, again, opening up the heart, our most vulnerable area of the body. And we're doing that with synchronicity of the breath. So I'm opening, breathing in. I'm taking that in. I'm opening myself up. I trust. And then I exhale out into child pose, which is like that little cuddling pose that we go into, kneeling and forward bend. And that is a beautiful, very, very simple thing to do, to take a moment. You can do that at home. Child pose, you can do that at home to just nourish yourself, to release. And I would say that be mindful when you're doing even the simplest pose as child pose, because you want to be careful not to hold your breath.
Right.
So so this is like something, it's like everyone knows that when I say, when I'm teaching, I always keep on cueing, breathe, 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 because we all hold our breath. We don't know, it's just a habit. And when we hold our breath without letting it out, releasing and opening, we are closing off the energy. So even in a nurturing pose, we feel ourselves expand open, releasing in the spine, in the lower back as we breathe out, and inhale to invite more energy. And we use metaphors of bringing from the energy of the earth, getting the nutrients from the earth, using our imagination so that we feel that energy, using that visualization. And when we exhale, we're expelling out all the things that just don't serve us, that doesn't feel heavy. And just that simple movement, that simple pose is can nourish you, can uplift you, can give yourself a hug. And then from there, you rise back up into a beautiful, strong standing pose because you've moved through all the elements.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that we hold our breath. It's true, because even someone who's like seasoned, when we're just doing it, you're kind of in the flow and you're not thinking. And sometimes when you make those cues, the reminders to breathe, I'm like, oh yeah, I was holding my breath. Like it's so easy for us to sort of lock in and kind of go through, but when you remind the person to breathe, it's like, oh right, like I was only using this piece of my breath, and I wasn't going deeper with my breath. So it's great to get those cues and reminders to breathe.
Yeah.
We all tend to hold our breath while we're doing something without realizing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the transition, I was saying it's yoga sneaky because in a good way, I feel that a lot of people start off with doing the practice, the different modalities, there's different styles, right, that we were talking about, as a physical form. And but then it becomes the emotional, because things are starting to open up. You're starting to release and let go and uplift yourself. Uh, then you start to go deeper within yourself. There's the spiritual practice. But what's so nice about the spiritual practice is it's your spiritual practice. It's not, it's your experience. It's how you're connecting to yourself, and you want to go into your, like, the spirit or something beyond the divine. You can do that, but it's not just, it doesn't have to be like that. It's just really about how we're going into another level of dimension. That's how deep you can go into it. And once you learn how to move your energy and use the breath, then you can get a little more comfortable into meditation. Because most people, and I understand that, everyone says I can't meditate, and that's No, we can't. We can't meditate because we haven't tried it and we haven't practiced it. And I love the example that I've heard Michael Singer say. I love to listen to Michael Singer. He wrote this book called Untethered Soul. It's a great book. And I love him. He calls himself the Jewish yogi. And I think he says that just so that he's expanding beyond religion, in a sense, he makes light of it. But he says that where I lost my train of thought. Um, he uses the example. What was I saying? I
Well, you were talking about the untethered soul
yeah.
and being sneaky with yoga.
Oh
And
yes, yes, yeah, yeah. So yes,
I
yes. Sorry.
was listening. I was listening.
I got lost in his book for a moment because
I
it's
was
just so
listening.
profound. Um, so yeah, so basically what happens is that you you don't realize what's happening to you until it just does. It's one of those things, and then you start to get more curious in your practice, and yeah.
So you were actually talking about meditation
Oh
and
yeah, meditation.
meditate.
Yeah.
But the meditation also for me, just on the conversation of meditation, is that we don't have to go into that also saying I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes, That's the same thing as that crash diet or the what we were talking about earlier, the idea that you feel like you need to do it all in order to be performing in it. Meditation is not about achieving 20, 30 minutes, 1 hour of sitting in silence. It could be 3 minutes, it could be 5 minutes. It's just to sit even with your own thoughts and hear your thoughts and allow your thoughts to come through you, process it, let it go. Like it could be micro meditations during your day. If you're just tuning into sounds around you, listening to a bird sing or the wind blowing, that's a moment of meditation because that's a moment of mindfulness, basically. It's a moment of being in the present and allowing that to be what you're focused on. So that's how I kind of look at meditation also, is that it doesn't have to be a big practice. It's just tuning in to mindfulness in a moment.
And I love
A
that.
long moment, it could be a little moment,
No, but I love that. And it's so much better to start off small. And I remember the example I want to give and the example was of what she had mentioned, is that it's like meditation is like going to the gym. You're not going to be fit right away. You have to grow the muscle. And it actually is a muscle in our brain that we develop. It's something, the mind body connection. And the when we just start for a few minutes, we allow the expansion to happen. You start feeling like you can tune in as exactly as you mentioned. A few minutes, you can completely come right quickly into yourself, and that is because you go into it faster.
yeah.
But that only happens when we do it like continually, do like little practices, little mini. And let me tell you, those little mini practices that you do grow a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Now it's like if I do, let's say, I don't know, 25 minutes or 30 minutes, I'm like, already it's finished. I'm like, what? You
You
know?
can also do like waking meditation. You don't need to be like in a closed eye situation. Like if you're walking through a forest, you could be meditating on a forest walk, right? There's
Yes,
like forest walk meditation.
yes.
I do it when I'm driving the car, actually. I turn my radio off and sitting in silence when you have to go somewhere an hour and a half. Oh my God, the creativity that comes through my head while I'm driving is because I'm not focused on the songs that I'm listening to. I'm just focused on the thoughts that I'm thinking as I'm driving. And that too is meditation. That's like an hour and a half or whatever meditation because I went from point A to point B without any interruption other than focusing on
Oh,
the road
yes.
and my thoughts. And
Wow.
that's a moving meditation.
The when you were saying like burnout. I'd love to get back into that. So burnout to brilliance. And I can tell you, I have many experiences in the past of burnout in different ways, and um, children, work, all kinds of stuff, and trying to be perfect, trying to keep on doing. Um, so that whole process that we learn in yoga, like I call it a lifestyle because I adapted the philosophy that I've learned from just doing a yoga practice, slowing down, noticing, pausing, connecting. I've been able to do that with, if let's say a situation comes up, we get triggered or we're exhausted. So let's say we are exhausted. Instead of it all or nothing, doesn't have to be all or nothing. There's beautiful ways to just move our body in yoga that is very gentle. So I know that what happens is with media, like social media and everything, we see quite intensive, especially these days. We're seeing a lot of very intensive yoga asanas, we call them poses, and everyone thinks that's what yoga is. And yes, it is a part, and it can be interesting and fun. But when you're really exhausted and you still need, because if you don't move, you don't move the body, you lose it, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. So even when I'm sick, if I have a bad cold and I'm run down, I will do some breathing exercises, and then I'll just move my spine around and do a few stretches. And it's not much, but it is something. These are little basic things that I picked up with my practice. What I'm doing, or what we're doing, is that we're still letting the body know that we're still there. You're still there. You're telling the body, don't forget. It's such an interesting dynamic because it's like, don't forget about me. Right? And that's where the disconnection comes from. When you disconnect, burnout, completely disconnected, we're not nourishing ourselves. So the body's saying, don't forget about me. So you're not forgetting, even if you're really tired, you're not forgetting, you're being gentle. You're doing little things that nourish yourself. Also, so be it what we take in, the thoughts we take in, what we eat, our environment, the vibration of our surroundings. These are all things that come together that will actually help so much shift our energy. And I just want to say that I remember walking into your place, Susan, the first time, going into Wellness Studio. And what I love right away, I'm not joking, right away, one is, of course, the setting, the colors are very, I feel like there's sun everywhere. And that we just get energy. Okay, so the other thing I thought of is, what a great place to be. I mean, you want to use it all year round, but really how nice it is to go into a beautiful, warm, inviting place that you feel for the cooler seasons, for definitely. I just want, and that's what it is. It's like creating the environment for us that shifts our energy. And there's all these like little tricks that we can do for that.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's so appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, so that's super kind. Yeah, hope people do come in the winter time as well. It
Oh
is
my
warm,
gosh,
it is
yes.
warm and cozy in
Oh,
here.
that salt room, the salt room is just so inviting. And then you got that. I mean, I'm playing it, but it's real, it's true. Like that's how great it is. And take in all the resources, like here we have this platform of different speakers that we offer different modalities of well-being. And we're all just really trying to do the same thing, but give us alternatives. And one day I'm going to feel like I want to focus more on my nutrition, or the energy work, or want to have fun and play with tarot cards. I have a stack, a box of tarot cards, and then Tara and I always, we're very close, and we always help each other in that aspect. Or breath work. I mean, you have the next class of breath work, and so it is, there's no excuse, to be honest. And I understand. It comes very close to my home, a family member who suffered from depression. And I say that family member was the greatest teacher for me, because from a young age, I saw what suffering was. And I thought that, I don't know how I'm going to learn or what it is, but that's one of the reasons why I became so curious. And what is it that I can live the most vibrant life as possible, and just continue it, the best quality of life that we can have.
And on the yoga note, I mean, it's even like they call it upward dog and downward dog because our dogs do that in the morning. When they wake up, they first stretch before they do anything else. Every single morning, I take my dog in my arms downstairs, and as I'm going to get her leash to put it on her head, she's doing an upward dog and a downward dog and another upward dog. And then as she's going into the upward dog, she's waiting for me to slide her little harness on. And I'm like, but I notice it in her now. Like I notice, I'm like, this is innate in dogs. They know how to get out of bed,
And do you hear their breathing?
Yeah.
They're breathing too, right? They'll do this like, or whatever
Yeah.
sound they make. I
But,
mean,
but
actually.
we're meant to get out of bed like that. Like that is how we're not supposed to roll over and jump out and go to brush our teeth. We're actually meant to stretch in bed, stretch up, roll to our side. Like we should be taking that alone, should be a few minutes just to before we even step onto the floor. We have to learn from the nature and these animals that are around it. They know that nobody taught them. Nobody taught them the upward dog and the downward dog. Yeah, we took those names from them,
I have there's a story that I have a client, and I was fascinated with her. She asked me to work with her one-on-one, and I I was trying to figure out. She says this. I cannot. She says I cannot do a sit up or any like holding plank poses or anything with the core. And so I was like, oh, and I was wondering, okay, maybe that's just, the way her body is or the way she's built like that. And then I don't know what had happened, but I asked her, I said, I said, oh yeah, when you were younger, what kind of physical activity did you do? She said, I didn't do any. She was extremely, which is great, academic. That's fantastic, but she just didn't do any sports activity, physical, anything. So it was so fun to work with her, because what I realized is she didn't know how to communicate with her body. She didn't not know how to connect with her body. She could connect with her brain. That she was amazing at that. So that became like a great challenge for me. Like, how are we going to do this? And it was, so of course the breath was like, let's ignite it. And I'm telling you, within like one or two, we got like, she's become so much stronger, and she's just like, wow, like, she's starting to go, oh, I love the way this feels. So it might not be maybe a goal. Like, her goal is to do a headstand, because it takes a lot of core work to do that, and actually core and upper shoulder and upper and arm strength. And I'm like, well, before we go to that, you need to connect on different levels. To be, and you need, it has to be safety first, but yeah, I think that was just a great example of having a body mind connection, and then having an experience, right? And it's like it's a spiritual experience, because you're just, when that happens, you're just like, you're blown away, because you are having another experience you've never had, and a connection to self, and then yourself rewards you back with a thank you.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any breathing? I know we're going to do a breathwork class after yours, but do you have any like little breathing or any like guidance to a few moves that they can do on their own to get from this burnout to brilliance? Do you have any little tips or tricks that you wanted
Yeah,
to?
well, I mean, I will be sending out a video, so of a yin yoga video that I did, and what you'll hear, like any type of teachings I do, but the yin yoga is great, because I said, the way I was explaining was, you grab a pillow, you can do it from home, and then of course when you come to Wellness Studio, we have all the props and everything like that. That's fantastic. But for breath work, one of the things that you can do, and the next speaker will get into it obviously at much deeper level. But when I do the centering, I just ask yourself to um, have your spine straight. So we always want to have the breath way moving, and a healthy spine is a healthy body. So there's a lot of teaching on that. And when we breathe in, first you're just going to notice your breathing just as it is, but then you start to breathe in through the nose. A little kind of hard for some people. And so exhale, breathe in through the nose, filling up, opening up, and then you can exhale out of the mouth at first. And then you can start to practice doing a few of those. And then you inhale, you can try to start exhaling out of the nose. That is a little challenging for some people. Normally, we need to heat up the body. The practice to what you're saying is that if you wake up in the morning and you just sit up for a moment, so you go sit up, stretch out, maybe just do like a little side stretch. You want to stretch the side of the spine, move it a little bit like this, shake off this energy from the night off. And then you just take in like 5 full deep breaths. And you want to make sure that you're breathing through the nose, not the mouth, because the mouth just contains a very short like breath, and it's not expanding enough into the lungs. Again, more information to come in the next speaker. But definitely just that wakes you up. It just energizes you. And that you don't even have to do, you can do that anytime during the day. I always say, if you're like traveling in the car, on a bus, sitting on a bench, you have a coffee break, or go to the bathroom with your kids are in another room, just take that moment, do those 5 breaths, do a little stretching, move the spine a little bit, set a timer every hour. If you're on the screen all the time, set a timer every hour, and just few breath, like breathing in and out, move your body, the spine. I'll link another exercise for that, for spinal energy, and that will get your energy moving. Keep it going.
Mhm. Did you have any suggestions? Because I know me personally, when we get into these colder months, my body naturally wants to hunch forward, right? Because we're cold, and so in the summer we're all like, "Woo, bring on the sunshine, feeling good." And then as winter starts to come, we were like, "Okay, I'm not." And so, are there any simple exercises people can do to keep that summer vibe opening?
Yes, yes. So, I mean, okay. Well, if you are at home and you're going to see the video that I'll be sending, you're going to see a picture of me, and you can just take a pillow or something, or actually roll up a towel, and you lay it on the lower back. I explain all that in the video, and you lie down onto it, rest your head, maybe a little extra support. You can bring your feet together. It's called butterfly pose. And then you open up your arms like this. Okay. And then so basically what that's doing is really opening up the whole chest and shoulders, and then your hip flexors, everything and you feel it's like cracking yourself open. I always like to say, let's crack ourselves open. Crack. So like you said, we tighten. So that's one example. And the other thing that you can do if you're not you're in an environment where you can't start doing yoga, then there's like this like movement from side. I'm sitting in a chair now, and if I just sit in a chair and I flex, if I flex, breathe in and back, we're just opening like that. There's just that movement with the breath, breathing in and out. And then also if you just breathe in, open, inhale, exhale, and just do like a little breathe in, exhale. You see how we have to do with the breath. Because if I don't do it the breathing and I hold, I'm holding back. So you want to breathe in, exhale. So you always want to breathe in, initiate, exhale to release. And
Yeah.
then there's a lot of like, at the end of the day, lying on the floor, putting your legs up the wall. Fantastic. Oh my God, gets your circulation back, especially if you're traveling a lot and you've been like, or driving a lot. Amazing. I mentioned child pose, legs. Then core work is always nice too. A little bit of core work, whether it's plank, there's a pose that we do in boat pose, which is like a V, sitting V. Anything to ignite fire into the body gets your blood flowing.
And I love that it's the butterfly pose, because it's another nice metaphor, because as we head into these colder months, obviously it's like cocooning, right? We are cocooning, we are hibernating, cocooning in order to become that butterfly and spread our wings and all. So to keep that butterfly going, even though it's a cocooning season, you're like, your wings, you got to keep your wings going, and expansive. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So yeah, I think was there anything else?
So do you want to tell us what's coming up? Share a little event that might be
We
coming.
have so exciting. So December 1st, we're doing a little mini retreat at Welma, and that's going to have yin yoga, Reiki, your sound bath, journaling, about, oh, well, it's about menopause.
Yeah, it's called Menopause Has Your Back.
Menopause has your back. And I mean, I can't wait to start talking about this, because that's going to be, I've been wanting to talk about menopause for a long time. I'm 58 years old and I've been through an array of stages through menopause. I'm at the tail end, and I've used a lot of my practice to help with menopause. So yeah, that's going to be that.
But you don't have to be in menopause even to
You
join
don't have to be in
the
menopause. You know
retreat.
what it is? No, you don't have to be in menopause. Really, menopause is basically just the changes of your body, just the changes you're going through. Honestly, women go through hormonal changes constantly their whole life, and so I think we will emphasize a little bit on that as well. And then I also made this really nice video, 30-minute video, short one, of yin yoga practice. And I give examples, things that you can just use at home, props to help you. There's like 5 poses to do. And your length of time you hold them is up to you. I always say a minimum, a minute to hold one pose. And if you want to, if you feel good and you want to stay in it longer, then you stay in longer. And those are like some basic opening, like what's so nice about the practice that I'm sharing is it's a positive way to lift the body. So what you do is you start off the nurturing, and then you finish the opening expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So we always want to feel safe. Like Tara talked about our root base, we always want to feel safe. And then we work our way up through the energy, through the crown of our head, and also opening up the heart center.
So do you want to put in the chat your
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
email or
so
your
it's going to
contact?
be, yeah. So if you reach out to, I'm not a fast typer. .com. Okay, so if you go under monicamerleau.com and just reach out to me, and I will send you the yin yoga video.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing this time here. It's been informative and lovely to converse with you over spirituality and yoga. And yeah, moving the body in mindful ways is a powerful tool to finding that balance and going from burnout to brilliance. And so thank you so much. And I look forward to our retreat December 1st. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., including lunch. So it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful event, which is already up online, ready for booking also. So anyone,
And I just
oh, you froze, I think. Somehow you seem to have frozen on us, Monica. So I guess that was a good universe telling us that time was coming to an end. I don't know if you're going to come back from your frozenness, but anyhow, we thank you so much, Monica. I guess this is divine timing. I'm going to shut down now. I'm putting pause. We'll be back at 2 o'clock with Breathwork and Katie Mack. So you can either stay on and just come back at 2 o'clock, go get a little pee break, and some new people may be joining at 2 as well. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and see you at 2 o'clock. Yeah, bye. And great. So welcome. Hi, Katie. Just
Hello,
gonna do a
hello.
quick little introduction for those that have just joined on, and for those that are listening to this as a recording, and who may have not been able to join at 2 o'clock. But I'm so grateful for this summit and for those that are participating and showing up for it, and speaking about glowing from burnout to brilliance, and what it means to be in our busy lives. And we're moving from one thing to the next, and we can sometimes find ourselves in burnout without realizing that we have arrived there. Lots of multiple actions, getting us turning towards a burnout, and we only realize it when it's too late and we've arrived in that state of burnout. So we're taking this moment to chat about different modalities and options that are out there as tools to help maintain that balance, and if you're in burnout, maybe help to ease it, or if you're not yet there, how to put the wheel moving in the other direction instead, towards brilliance. So I just want to mention that we've had some great speakers already. We've already talked about Reiki and chakra and yoga and nutrition. And now we're going to be speaking with Katie McIntyre, called also Katie Mack, about breathwork and mind-body breathwork, which is her unique form of breathwork. So I'll just give you a little introduction that basically breathwork is a really powerful tool for self-healing and for grounding. And Katie's going to share insights as to how to harness the breath and how it can regulate emotions and relieve anxiety and lead to really profound transformations. So I would like to introduce you to Katie. I'm going to send the floor over to her, and maybe Katie, you can explain how different breathwork techniques can impact the body and the mind as well, and introduce yourself and let us know what you're all about and who you are.
Thank you so much, Susan. I'm so happy to be here. So those of you that are joining today and will get the recording, this is just an honor to be a part of this topic because it is a very important topic. We can go, go, go. And sometimes we think we're doing all the right things to make all the things happen in our lives. Um, but in the doing, we could get stuck and develop poor breathing habits. And that can lead to actually a lot of let's say I think I'm going to make up this word dysrhythm, like not being rhythmed in the self, right? And then that cycle ends up continuing, as you said, maybe we're not aware of it. It goes into the sleep cycle, goes into the wake cycle, all of that. So I I've been a breath worker for the last 17 years. I've breath work is a wide variety. It's like an umbrella term, basically anything that you're doing that's working with the breath. And my practice with the community is to reprogram how we connect and relate to ourselves, to each other, and to life. So that connection and relatability is a story that is held within us. And so we can function basically really being us. But the being us, it gets stored and it becomes habit. And uh, sometimes we don't like the habits and we don't like the reactions and the behaviors that end up unfolding along our journey. And breath work is a really great way to access those patterns and restructure them. And what's great about breath work is that it's free and it's accessible to you at all times. It's one of the best things going. But amazingly enough, because it's so assumed in us, like, oh, I'm breathing. Of course I'm breathing. Why do I need to work at that? It has limited the amount of studies or money put towards studying the breath and its capacity to alter it in specific ways and rhythms. And many people love science when it comes to wellness, right? They want to know what they're doing to their bodies is going to work. They don't want to waste their time and they don't want to harm themselves. And so having scientific studies that uh, allow us to see, oh, that particular breathing style and pattern affects the brain in this way, and it can affect the person's happy level, like their moods, the way that they release hormones. Like this is like an intricate way of studying this, and I like to say phenomenon, like the breath to me is like such a phenomenon. Like it can work without you knowing it. And then when you do play with it, it has so much range. And it really is the spirit. It's us in process of spirit because it is life coming in and life leaving, and it's air. I mean, how fabulous is that? So meaning like it's been here on the planet way before you and I have been here, and it will be here way before we're gone, way after we're gone. So this is like a connecting force. We might not all have the same beliefs throughout the world, but we all breathe. And this baseline function really is such a baseline to the self. So if you are looking to improve any habit or behavior, incorporating breath into that protocol, in my opinion, is a must, because how do you go ahead and change patterns without changing the breath? The breath is like number one communicator. It accesses everything subconsciously. It has direct communication to the brain. It influences the largest, most communicative nerve system, the vagus nerve in your body. So it tells you how to digest. It loosens up the area for all the fluid to move through you. It has direct communication to the heart. So all the blood that's pumping through you, it's got a relationship with that. It's got a relationship to even your memory. And that's why using breath to even heal trauma, tragedy, um, a system that's becoming dysfunctional, the breath can heal that because it has direct access to aspects in your midbrain that hold memory and hold story. And so when we perceive through, our optic nerves that communicate to the back of the brain, and we sense through our ears, we're making meaning out of our life. And that meaning is telling us how to feel, right? And that feeling is telling us how to behave. And so it's so valuable to have a relationship. Just, mind, body, breath work, my own little spice in the breathwork world is about the relationship. Have a relationship. And then we can build from there. So if you don't have a current relationship with your breath, well, you're definitely in the right place. So I'm so happy to be here because of that. Because that means today can be a day that you start a relationship with your breath. And to me, that's like you might not know it yet, but it's like one of the magical days of your life, because if let's say you committed to having a relationship with your breath from this day forward, and let's say you didn't have, like let's look at that relationship. What kind of relationship do you want to have with your breath? Do you want to have one that it's like, you got to do this now and you got to feel like this now and I got to control you and do this pattern and this rhythm and I look up on YouTube and I follow all of these and then I just make it happen and I don't really want to do my breathwork practice. It's like, oh, I don't have the time. Like if it ends up being a relationship like that, my heart would, be a little bit saddened because if you can look at your breath like your best friend, because without it, you would not be living. It really cares about you, it wants you to live. So if you have a panic, you have a fear, your breath is going to alter itself to help you get through that.
Mm.
It's going to breathe more fast. It's going to try to figure out how to adjust the rush of endorphins that's saying something is scary. So it really is your best friend. And treating it as such, that's a great thing because then now it's like I'm actually treating myself that way, but you could just call it your breath too, and you can have that relationship with it.
I love that
So,
you're saying that
yeah.
because for me, breath work, there's like two levels of breath work. There's the conscious and the unconscious. So for me, I look at that like a rainbow. And I love this analogy personally, is that the rainbow is the conscious. We see that. We understand what we see in front of us. And that's the breath that the relationship is on an easier level. But when you start to understand the breath on the other side of the rainbow, the part you can't see because the horizon stops the other half. A rainbow is a full circle. And that's the unconscious part. But when you start to tap into that part and understand deeper the elements that you're talking about, the ones that you can play with that aspect of your breath, then your circle is starting to form more clearly as well. You're not just working with the upper rainbow, you're allowing that rainbow to be the full circle and bringing the breath from up here down here and having it more of a fluid. So the more you understand it, the more you have conversations with your breath work, the more you tap into your breath work, the more you're forming that full circle.
Yeah, I love that, Susan. That's so good. Thank you for that. Yeah, I was just about to ask you too, like what do you think? What is your breath practice like,
Well, I know I'm somebody who just works from this part of my breath most often. It's like that's my we all work from our lowest baseline, and my baseline is here. So when I can tap in lower, like through your breathwork class or through a yoga class, or like when I'm working in that lower level and not just in my comfort zone. My comfort zone is that upper rainbow. But when I work with tools, then I realize how important it is for me to get beyond this level and connect down to my root of breath. And so I often do the reverse breath and fill my belly with air first, and then bring that air up and out so that I know that I'm going as deep as I can with my breath work. But that's like, I do it consciously. I'm like, oh my God, I've only been breathing from here. Now I need to fill my belly with air and bring it up and out instead of in and down. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's not a reverse breath. That's a proper breath. A reverse breath is called when somebody takes an inhale in and their stomach comes in. And a lot of people think that that's them taking a deep breath and it fills this part of them, and it doesn't get to where the best gas exchange is, which is in the lower part of the lungs, which is why an efficient breath really actually brings the diaphragm down, and it fills the pressure pulls into the lower lungs. And this is where, oh, the air and the pressure around the sides of the ribs, the back of the ribs, and in a bit of the belly area. I mean, some people really blow up their belly, which you don't really have to. It's more the sides and the back. It's like 30% in the belly. The rest is sides and back, because what you're doing is you're vacuuming the air down into the where there's more alveoli, there's more gas exchange. And so reverse breathing would be that you suctioned it in and kept, and the pressure never brought it down into the lower lungs, and it squeezed it in. And unfortunately, a lot of people think, oh, keep your belly in, pull your spine up, that's good posture. But this ends up training what we call reverse breathing. And then we have to get the more efficient breath to be synced into the body, and more of a new story, right? Like, notice how there's a story there that says, someone might think that, oh, I have to look better in my waist and pull up and pull in and breathe from there. And that's the story that they're telling their body, right? But if we didn't ever have a story come into play, when you watch a baby, their chest is fully going up, their belly's going up, and I mean, they have smaller lungs, so it's a bit faster, but you'll notice that they're not sucking in their bellies to take a breath, right?
Yeah, that's us trying to always like look our best, right? That's like trained, that's trained. It's like suck it in so you look good. Yeah. That's not
Yeah.
baby's not thinking suck it in, right? Baby's just thinking breathe.
Well, yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so there's really to understand, like you said, that underlayer of the unconscious or the subconscious, right, is what do I want to relate specifically every day? Like, I'm doing enough things in my life. I'm on the go. I'm navigating a lot of things. But okay, I learned my breath is really actually such a force of where in my core and my heart and my whole being, I'll show up and be present, because the breath also creates presence. It's like when you put the awareness on this breath here and now, you're in the here and now, right? Versus like a mind can go into yesterday and a mind can go into yesterday. And what's to say, like, be here now? Well, the breath in action can say, oh, I'm here now. I'm actually moving in the here and now. So it's really a great presence tool. And so you want to interject that into your life, because that has many happiness ramifications, feeling more fulfilled, feeling more connected, feeling more that you can enjoy it. Because if you're taking a full breath in and a slow breath out, that is a normal functional rhythm, instead of we're going really fast and then we're talking and we're going here and we're doing that, like, you're not taking in life, right? Like, you're moving through it pretty fast,
Mhm.
right? And then sometimes we're like, where did that go? Because that breath actually triggers different parts of your brain. So you won't have a different level of thinking if you stay in that shallow circular breath. And so the three aspects that you want to get to for your breath is the biomechanical, right? The actual movement of your ribs, your spine, the soft tissue, releasing the jaw, working in making sure that the air can come in through your nose well. Where do you place your tongue? Like there's the biomechanics of breathing, the actual thing that it's coming into, right? It has to receive it, and it has to have flow, and it can't be really tight and rigid. And so our posture makes a difference, how we take in air and how we release air, right? So biomechanic is one thing. There, I teach, you know, different, you could do a 10-minute thing before you go to bed, before you like, you trust me, I'm busy too, but you could throw this in your life and it will make all the difference, and just doing a nice little round of mechanical movements that release your diaphragm and release fascial tension and even compression or pain in the body that can allow you to breathe more fully. Right. So biomechanical. And before I jump on to the next, I feel like asking, does anyone have a question about
Yeah.
that or
Well,
want to know more?
Sarah said probably obvious, but it's in the moments when I'm panicked and most need to be in touch with my breath that I totally lose track of it. So unconscious moments, I guess she says. So do you have a tip for her? So when you're in a moment of panic where you do lose touch with your breath, how can you get back to your breath in that moment of panic? Is there like something that you can trigger to come back to your breath when you're in that moment of panic?
So the moments of panic are on a scale. Um, the highest scale is you cannot breathe in a moment of that high level of panic. It's like you cannot take in air. Um, it's
That
it
would be called a panic attack, I guess, right? That's when you're in that panic attack mode, is that you cannot breathe. You're in like a hyper tense state.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the high level of a panic, right? And then as you go down that scale, if you will, sometimes there's minor panics happening throughout the day that are just like a tightness in the stomach or a butterfly or buzzing in the system and an agitation. You might have nervous system reactions like you tapping on something, you're chewing on something like something's going, right? So that's at the like lower end of what I would say is panic in the nervous system. It's subtle. Sometimes we just accept that that's how you might like that's how I am. Um, doesn't have to be how you are, but if you're realize that actually on some subtle level you have a story in there that's always afraid, and that story can be changed, right, in the system. So along that scale, I mean, what I think, Sarah, and if feel free to chime in, but it's what I'm hearing is that like I'm starting to maybe get a raised voice, maybe like maybe you're seeing or read some people say that, or like I'm kind of like, where do I go to right now? Like I kind of need something to stop. Like wait, it's a bit too much. Maybe you enter like that type of panic where it's like, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? And for sure, I know you're saying, well, then I've already,
I
yeah,
she
it's,
freezes in the freeze in the rather than fight or flight, she freezes in the panic moments.
yeah. And so just to follow up on that, in your freeze, you've lost contact with your breath. But if you were to think about it, are you breathing or not? Is it a hold? So some people are like, okay, I freeze, but they're not trained to then just go right to their breath. Because if it's holding, you can release it. That's the quickest way out of that, what we call immobilization. So that freeze is move. So it's actually quite simple. Sometimes it's like mind blowing how simple it is but it's those split seconds that it's like, where do I go when I understand that I'm frozen? Well, you go into the breath. You go nowhere else. It doesn't matter who's around you. Doesn't matter
Can
what's
you
going
give us
on.
an example of how to go into the breath? Like, can you give us like a little, like, what does that mean on a practical scale to go into the breath?
Yeah, let's do it right now together. So we're going to do it eyes closed so that because maybe you don't know it, and when you close your eyes, you're able to have more introspection inside. So you have 4 levels of consciousness. Some are outside with the eyes open. Broad is one level, narrow is another, and then the 2 inside, introspectively in the body, broad sense of the self, and then narrow sense of the self, meaning, oh, when I go in to my perception goes inward, and I'm going to invite you to do that with me now. I'm just going to get a broad sense of myself inside. And within that broad sense, I'm just going to notice my breath. Which aspects of your breath speak to you? So instead of anybody writing in a chat, I want you to stay with your breath. Don't answer that question. Just ask it inside. Like, what speaks to me in my breath? And then believe it or not, different people have different dialogue. Some, they can notice how the air comes in and out of their nose. And that draws them right there, the air in and out of my nose. Some, it's how my throat feels. Some, it's actually the movement of the ribs. Some people notice the heart and or maybe there's tightness there, or they notice their traps. Some just notice the pace. Oh, it's kind of fast. Some notice the volume. And some can pay attention so much that they can start to dive into the breath and actually watch it as it comes in and out in a way that they realize actually the breath is changing in real time right now as I observe it. I'm not trying to alter it, but in the awareness of it, it's actually changing. And so if you want to put a little hand emoji up, that as you just even brought your introspective sense inside to observe the breath for about a minute. In that minute, did you notice the breath change at all?
So I'll say for me, since I'm here live with you, I went from realizing my jaw was clenched to releasing that in the moment that I was conscious of my breath. So at the beginning, I was like, oh, wow. When you were talking about all the levels of where my breath was, I could see that it was like locked in on a clenched jaw. And then as I was listening to your words, I was like, okay, now soften the jaw. Okay, bring the breath down. So I was kind of like going through, checking in on my body and seeing, okay, release a little here, release a little there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tingly toes for Sarah, she says. Weird. Is what
Well,
she's.
and not actually weird. Tingly hands, ears, and toes um, are just really communication inside about your circulation. And so one great thing about breath work is that it helps circulate the blood to the extremities. And if we are in chronic stress, then the system takes the blood and brings it closer to the heart. So our extremities actually will become less filled with blood. And some people might say that they're cold. Sometimes that leads to later in life having rheumatoid arthritis or just any arthritis or pains in the hands and the feet, right? So the circulation to the extremities very much relies on the breath. So interesting enough, in that unconscious moment that you just had, like placing your consciousness on it and creating the whole circle of that rainbow, your body said, oh, I'm actually coming more alive. The cells are moving, they're tingling, there's movement and circulation in an area that maybe doesn't get that circulation on a regular basis if you tend to be stressed in your life, right? Because it'll send the signals that take all the blood and bring it to the heart and the brain and out of the extremities. Survival, right? Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks, she says.
Yeah. So did anyone else like actually have an interaction with their breath where the breath changed when they put their attention on it? If you did, just you could just put up a hand of an emoji or write in the chat. It's a little test I do. It's like, are we coming into the breath? You know, which was the question. How do we do that?
Yeah.
And so what happens when we come into the breath is that follow-up question. The breath responds. So if you're freezing and you fold in and you go to your breath and you notice it's tight, it's clenched, it's not moving, then just in noticing it in seconds, you'll probably take an exhale. You'll probably relax your stomach or relax your jaw or you'll grasp air in because it's being heard. It's being connected. What you're describing in the freeze is a disconnection. Stop. I'm not living for this like moment. It's too scary. Freeze. It's in the back of the brain and the dorsal vagal where it's primitive reaction to fear. So it's like, don't move and don't even breathe because someone might find you. Play dead. So
And
if that,
how
yeah,
does that like, what's the difference with like, we're talking about now, this is like the glow from burnout to brilliance. And we're also talking about going into colder, darker months. So do you feel there's a difference like with summer months versus these winter months? And is there something like in these winter months, like we were talking in the yoga before your breathwork moment, that like for me, I start to hunch forward, so obviously I'm blocking my breath from the free flow in these colder months versus in the summer where I'm a bit more loose and my breath naturally in the it just in the body of the freeze and I know the freeze and the flight and all of that has different relation to the body and how the body is standing. So do you have some words for us in regards to coming into these darker months and the breath work and thoughts on that?
yeah, very much to your point, the biomechanics, right, are the key. So the posture, the tension in the shoulders. Um, Sometimes when people enter the cold, they go like that. And that response is just sending ripple information of terror. Some people hate the cold. Like they literally have the story running on, I hate how cold it is. And even just look like the tightness that comes and the tension that comes when you hate something. You know, cold training, preparing yourself right now before the snow comes, before the really rigid temperatures hit, and having a relationship with your breath in preparation for the cold is a really great way to minimize that like quick change to how you're relating to it. A lot of times it could be shocking for people because they don't prepare themselves in a very loving way. I mean, all of our transitions in life are determined, our reactions and behaviors are saying, is this safe? And the unknown or a quick shock of a situation is going to trigger the nervous system, like you said. So we want to keep the flow of the nervous system in a way that is what we call social engagement, keeping the vagus nerve toned. And that is really just like summer, relaxed, easy. I mean, ideally, not everybody experiences their body like that just because it's warm out. But the concept is that you have a flow of the breath moving through you with ease, and it's fulfilled. And when you're hating something or you're getting shocked by something, um, it does do like it harms the body a bit. And so if it's cold every day and colder, and then the weather like goes up, and it's like a big yo-yo, you're kind of being played with. You never know what the weather's going to be like out there, right? And you're becoming a victim to the climate, to your environment. Like that relationship is going to cause, well, gray hairs and wrinkles and stress and all sorts of stomach problems, most likely, and heart conditions, like, so really being cognizant of your relationship with the breath and preparing it too. So doing like cold applications either on your face, a quick little like 10-second blast of the shower. And in that second, when the cold hits your skin, that's you want to play right in that window. And so it's not, and plus you're engaging in it. So you're even like telling your nervous system, we want this. Let's go for it. See what happens. So if you start doing that in the winter, it's fresh, it's cold, um, no matter what type of day it is, it's just it builds that habit of behavior in that relationship with your body's breathing mechanisms, so you can very much train it. I highly recommend it. So you master those quick reactions that happen from the cold. That's a great skill to have. And then also making sure you love heat and cold and
This is
rain
the
and wind.
mindset, right? So you can tell yourself, I feel invigorated, instead of telling yourself, I feel frozen and awful. You're like, no, this is like invigorating, which is that cold shower or cold cloth on your face. You're training your brain to think of it as a positive experience, not a negative experience. So that when your breath realizes that your breath is like accepting it instead of rejecting it, right?
Yeah, so I want to change that or clarify a bit of that because that is a lot of people operate that way. And I want to teach, okay, so it's one thing to think, okay, it's an invigorating day. But when you're saying in your mind or out loud, oh, it's an invigorating day, how are you breathing when you say that? Oh, it's an invigorating, like, it doesn't matter what you're thinking. What matters is what's happening in the breath. If your thought matches the breath, like let's say, for example, I'm so angry, but I'm going to think it's going to be okay and I'm going to figure it out. And while you're thinking it's okay, you're telling yourself it's okay and I'm going to figure it out, your breath is still tense. It is still stopped. It is still not flowing. It doesn't matter how much you tell yourself that it's going to be okay. Your nervous system is not believing it. It is not functioning in its okayness. So it's even more wasted energy to have thoughts that are not connected to the breath. So when we come in and we have a relationship with the breath, we actually want to breathe the pleasure. We want to breathe the invigoration. We want to breathe the anger. Breathe the anger. It's like fire. It's like awesome. Not, I'm angry and talking to you and I'm not breathing. Not as efficient, and you're not connected. You're split. Your breath is saying one thing, your mind is saying another. And that's what I mean by really having a relationship with your breath is having a relationship with the connectivity of who you are in that actual moment. So you're sad, guess what? You're breathing the sadness. Right? We're not disconnected from our body feeling it, and a mental loop just keeps having the control. And this is why I love I love meditation, but I really love breath work because it is without, like, the mind is very powerful, but the breath is underneath the mind. Without breath, you don't have a mind. It's the only thing that is that much more powerful than the mind. The combination of the two, it's all your power, right? But if the mind's running the show without the breath, it's no bueno.
So how do you, there's a question from Manuela. How do you breathe the anger? Because she says most of the time the anger blocks her breath. So how do you breathe the anger? Because you have the training and the years of knowledge behind it. So someone who doesn't have your training, how do you breathe the anger?
Great question. Yeah. So, okay, everyone expresses or accesses the anger in a different way. So we want to breathe the anger. We want to know, where does it want to breathe from? So that might be really deep in your gut, and it might be a grunting exhale, right? Like a, oh my God, like, and you're with the breath as it's expressing it. It could be more in the mouth where you just want to and keep following it. The more cycles of breath you engage in the emotion, just like when we observe the breath changes. And so breathing the emotion changes. And following what that feeling and what that expression wants to be as you breathe is going to take you somewhere else. And that's how you start to reconnect with the fact that an emotion is really only meant to go through your nervous system within 90 seconds, right? Everything else longer, staying there, or emotion days and days out. This is something else. This is a script. This is a pattern and a story that has its own meaning in who you are and what you're experiencing in your life. And so you want to rewrite that script. You want to get in there as much as you can to breathe the emotions that you're feeling so that those waves can crash. The breath can move the emotion through the system. It's accessing, remember, your brain, your heart, your guts, all of them are containers of information of who you are in your physical body, but that's where the spirit resides. That's where the energy moves, your metabolism, all the things happen in the cells, right? So you want to move an emotion and an energetic charge, move it with breath because it's going to access your whole being. And then all your cells can rearrange and then they can feel something different. Does that help? Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. But then how do you turn the monkey brain off? Because sometimes you just relive it, even though you were able to process the breath, the story might continue in your head. So is there like a little way to then, once you've breathed through the emotion, to calm the story through breath?
So the story is a side effect of not being connected in the self. It's still, the story is existing because you're still not connected. It's still trying to tell you something. So like you can't like hypothesize, if I do this, then like the breath is going to move it. It's underneath the mind. So the mind will adjust itself. And so like most people that say, how do you control or stop the monkey mind? They're not doing breath work. This is why they don't know how to stop the monkey mind, because nothing will stop that monkey mind except the breath. So eh, try the breathwork practice, integrating it into your daily life, like your relationship with it, let's say from waking to sleeping, and then see if you have a monkey mind. And I'd love to hear back from you. And I'd love for you to tell me, did the monkey mind go away? Because we're trained to use the mind more than use the breath.
Mhm.
Because this is what we went to school for, to train the mind, and they didn't teach you to be in your breath when you were young. So basically, it's to actually believe that if I'm conscious into my breath more than the thoughts or the to-dos or the I have to make that happen because that's what success means, or whatever the story is that makes you have to construct your way of being to satisfy a certain thing, right? Like, no, your being is the breathing. So if you start to commit to that and validate that and work within that framework, there will be no more monkey mind.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, yeah. Sure.
So some people and that's where some people say, "Oh, I did 5 minutes of breath work today. It was great." Okay. Has anyone ever done 5 minutes of abs? And then in that 5 minutes of doing abs a day, did their abs actually change? Does their core like have their max amount of strength by doing 5 minutes of abs? No. The relationship to how much time or effort you put into your breath is actually like doing 10 minutes of breath work is not going to get your monkey mind gone when you did your breath work at 10, 9 in the morning, and now you have a monkey mind at 4 p.m. Like how like to me, I'm like, how does that even equate? Because the breath is in the present moment. So if you're noticing, I have a monkey mind right now in this moment, I have anxiety right now in this moment, I am um not able to sleep, or I don't know what I want. You're kind of like, what do I do? What do I want? You're not going to like hypothetically be like, well, I did breath work earlier this morning, so I should not have these side of like these are the moments that you can be conscious of, like it's almost like 7 or 10 things at one time, depending on your skill of consciousness. But like if one of those isn't on the breath, like, or let's put it a different way. Why don't you put one of those on the breath, and see what happens? Because then you're never disconnected from yourself. You're never not present. And your communication that's happening in any given moment isn't something related to, I did my breath work, or I did my 5 minutes of abs, or I did my meditation. Shouldn't I like be okay here? No, it is actually like an it's a it's a real relationship with yourself that is all the time. And it's not daunting because guess what? It's super accessible and it doesn't cost you any money. So it's just a matter of doing it and living that way. Well,
They should be teaching that in school.
oh my gosh, I go and teach in schools and I'm so happy. The kids, they catch on so fast, and I've seen them evolve into teenagers, and uh, wow, such a difference.
Yeah, and for mental clarity too, just to like process their emotions and it's like, yeah, it all starts with the,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're extremely functional. They're incredibly wise. They're active just by pure joy of wanting to move their body. All the breath does all of that. It helps everything function better. And then so you keep them in their nature, you keep them in their vitality as in their youth, and you just let them keep going, and it's really amazing. You know, so so love to pass that on because we think that it's so hard to maybe catch up on something that we didn't get as a kid, but it's not when it comes to breath work. It's really right here, right now. There's nothing to catch up on. Um, it's just, can you have a relationship with it? Can you connect with it? Can you bring it into your awareness, right? That's what I mean. You don't have to make it like I have to think about it and set myself up, and I have to know all these breaths. Like if you're if you value the breath, if that perspective has changed even from today, you're going to end up getting the information as it comes. You're just going to start hearing it, right? Like you're going to come across some Instagram post that's going to say like a 4-7-8 count, and you're going to be like, I want to play with that one. You know, like tonight before I go to bed, I'm going to try that one. You know, like you could try longer periods of work that create different flows and different activations in your system, bring you down, bring you up. You know, you can play with the range of motion with those. But the conscious breath is the one that is the self connection. And that one is just reframing your awareness to you being a part of that process way more than you've ever been, and see like how that works. And this is the one piece that most people report back to me, that in just one session, one talk, um, they might not go and do the patterns in their life, but their awareness, they say, makes all the difference in who they are with when they're fighting with somebody, when they're worried about something, when they're in the traffic, when they're eating and they're trying to rush. Like it's like, no, it comes up. Now it comes to me because it's a relationship. It'll start talking to you. And it'll be like, oh, I should exhale right now. Oh, I should,
Yeah.
I should shake this out right now. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah. It is a relationship, exactly. A relationship. Yeah. One that we were not taught to be aware of, and that once you are aware of it, you can grow that relationship, grow understanding of your breath,
exactly.
and shift through your emotions, because you will have emotions. It's not like being aware of it's going to stop all those emotions. It's just going to clarify them and allow you to pass through them quicker.
Yeah. One thing I do, I could throw this out there. So, you know, when you guys like stub your toe or something like, or maybe you cut your finger, you know, something injures you real quick and the body's, or someone insults you. I mean, it can even be an emotional injury and like, you're like a tone, you know, you're like, what the, and so that initial reaction, when you start to have that relationship with your breath, you'll notice like the first initial reaction is to hold, right? And even then the emotion, the blood rushes and the emotions come. And sometimes we even suppress that too because we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't. And so what I teach with people, like when you get hurt, go right into the breath right away. Let the breath express in whatever way it does, but don't stop that breathing. Let it breathe. Breathe it. You're in it. And then it's amazing how efficient the healing process is from that point on, and how fast the pain. And that's really the same with emotions. It's incredible when somebody like jars you, they're shaming you, maybe like you can feel that subtle like attack, and you just come in, you feel you're like, and it just, yeah, it's back out again. And keep it going. Don't keep it in. No, whoever said that that was efficient processing, you know, it's probably because they never said it to you that that's not efficient processing. So we just kind of do it for whatever like reasons because we think that like we're just supposed to receive that, you know, or that was thrown at me or that cut me and now it's just my pain to deal with or whatever that is. But it's like, no, the exhale is literally the letting go. It is the ultimate letting go process of your mind and body. Use it.
Mm.
You don't want pain? Let it go. Start to get really friendly with your exhale. It'll save you years of therapy. Years. It is the ultimate thing to let go. Nothing lets go more than an exhale in your whole being, not your mind. Remember, not your mind. If your breath is stuck and you're trying to let go of something, do we realize that doesn't work? It's not working, right? But oh, I feel that they said that. Oh, and it's true with like any quick trauma, any quick accident. The body will recoil because it's like, oh, brace, it'll brace. Boom, oh, that hurt. That's natural. But then, okay, let me let that go. That hurt. Let me free that need to protect. Let me release that they ever did anything to me, or that ever happened. Let me release that. And within those 90 seconds that we feel something and we make decisions, oh, that jerk. Oh my gosh, am I going to have to go to the hospital? Like our mind loves to make decisions. It needs the decisions made to feel okay, but it's a lie. You don't need to make any decisions when you're hurt. What you need to do is breathe because there's no decision to be made. All of those decisions that happen when you're hurt are trauma-based decisions. And they stick in the mind as another little poke to say, watch out for that, because it's still in there. It's still structured. They kept it because it made a decision. The decision keeps it, right? So don't make any decisions until your breathing is back to normal, till you have a smooth, free breath, till you are back to homeostasis. Then let your mind make decisions and move from there. Move from your center, move from your alignment, make decisions from your core like power. Don't make decisions when you're protecting from harms. Like we don't want to keep protective mechanisms. That doesn't ensure an easy, free flowing breath.
Mm.
All
I
that
love
ensures.
that. I love
Yeah,
that. Thank you. Oh my God, we're all gonna be building relationships with our breath. I'm gonna name my breath something. I'm gonna figure out a good name to call my breath, and I'm gonna start having conversations with my breath.
I know. I don't know why Susie just came to mind, but she seems cute.
Oh my God. So we're at the end of our time already. I could go on for days about this conversation, but where can people find you, Katie? And a few like people are you've got an offering as well that's on your next in-person session here at Welma. You've got 20% off of that in-person session if they put glow breath 20 and checkout for your. And so when is that happening here? Where it's November
November 2nd, 1 to 2:30.
1 to 2:30. And so how
Yeah,
can they get a hold of you also? Do you want to pop it into the chat here? Your
sure.
Katie at Katie Mac, is it Katie at KatieMacWellness.com?
KatieMacWellness.com. Um, my website is almost on the way out. Just so that you know, the events page is where all like the things are happening. The other information is currently being updated. It should be updated very soon. So KatieMacWellness.com. I am on Instagram. That's always fresh and updated. And let's put that Katie Mac Wellness on Facebook and Instagram. So Katie Mac Wellness and on Instagram. Actually, my Facebook is Katie McIntyre. Now that I remember, because they didn't let me put it. It's like a personal profile. Oh, Katie McIntyre on Facebook. And then
And so what
yeah.
good stuff is coming up for you?
So my sessions at Welma have been incredible because of your salt-infused air, the space and the vibe. I've been really loving those. So that's happening November 2nd. And then the first Friday, perhaps on December, will be our last one for the year. And so those two are just incredible. I love hosting my sessions at your space. It's really really unique as a breath worker to have the ability to breathe in salt for an hour within our nervous system regulation session. It's another additive bonus for your hair, your skin, your lungs, your gut. It's fat. It's so good. And then you also have the mats that electrically they pull down your ions, right? They create a nice balance in your ionic field, if you will, your energy centers. So that's also a great add-on at your boutique. And then I have a letting go ceremony where we use breath work to let go of the whole year. 2024, that's coming up December 14th, and there's one online December 15th. And then there'll be an opening ceremony to project the coming year, clear any past sort of habits or things, and we project into the breath into the future. It's a wonderful way to set yourself up subconsciously for consciously and subconsciously for the year to come. So those are happening. Yeah, that's what I got.
To Costa Rica for your retreat tomorrow. Is that right? You're leaving tomorrow?
That is right. I host a full week retreat in Costa Rica, and the next one will be in May 2025. When we dive in to the nature of Costa Rica, which we're breathing in a waterfall, we're breathing in a boat, going through caves, we're breathing in the movement, we're breathing, it's really to foster that relationship with your being.
You're
And
going on holiday with your breath.
exactly. I love that. I'm going to use that actually. Go on holiday with your breath. It's your best friend. Take it on holiday. Get reacquainted, get it revived, and show it how much you love it. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time here, Katie. This was amazing. This conversation was, yeah, eye-opening, and I'm sure we all have a lot of work we can do to get to know our breath better. So thank you for your
Thank you.
time, and yeah, can you
Yeah. Thank you everyone for being here. It's amazing.
have an amazing holiday as well and retreat with your people.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone can reach out. I also do programs, private work, stuff. I do a whole bunch. That's why it's like events page or reach out, text me on
Yeah.
DM me. And yeah, I'm a big promoter to help people through their journeys. We want to go, we don't ever want to enter burnout,
No.
surprise or not. We want to stay in the light, stay in the brilliance, stay easy, easy peasy with joy
And flow.
and flow. We want to glow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
thanks for hosting this, Susan.
and have a lovely time and a good flight, and see you in November.
All right. Bye.